And welcome back to Nando Talk, guys. Happy Friday, guys. I hope you're enjoying Aloha Friday and welcome Jason Sarney to the show. We've got a very special guest for a special show today, guys. Some positive Dolphins vibes. Jason, thanks for coming on, man. Pleasure to have you. How's it going,
Appreciate you bringing me on, Nando. Happy Friday to you, and ready to talk some fins.
dude? Happy Friday. Everything's going good for you over there?
Yeah, doing well. Happy to go on into a summer Friday and a weekend, and enjoying enjoying life here in Southeast Pennsylvania.
There we go. Things going fine in Pennsylvania. Things are going fine in Miami. Why wouldn't they, man? Things are good to be a Dolphin right now. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Jason Sarney over here contributed Dolphins Wire. So we got a credible guy over here, a smart guy, and it should be a fun talk. Full of positive vibes. Without further ado, man, how are we feeling? Oh, well, sorry. I just want to know a little bit more about you as a Dolphin, I guess.
Sure.
You know, um, when did you become a Dolphins fan? Pennsylvania. I know you told me you're from New York. So how'd you start down the Finns path?
Well, geographically, I'm not in the South Florida region like you. I kind of wish I was, but I grew up in New York. My parents were never really huge football fans, sports fans, but I basically chose my own path in football. And around 1990, I was like 9 years old. Ironically, I had a family member who gave me a Dolphin jersey. No Merino on the back, but it was number 13. It was one of those old mesh jerseys.
Okay.
And you see a jersey, and then being in New York, you see a couple of Dolphin games, the Jet games. Obviously, in the 90s and even the 80s, you had the Monday Nighters that Marino and the Finns were
There we
on.
go.
So just started watching it, and without any influence of the Jets or the Giants in my home, I started really looking forward to the 3, 4, 5 times I'd see Marino and the Finns. And then once we got to like 93, and I was like watching the draft, and I was really invested. 12-year-old,
You were set.
13-year-old Jason just
Took
Miami all
off
the way.
right there.
And I made a
Well, that's
lot of Jet fan friends in Long Island just because of that.
and it's a fun time though. You chose smart. You're a wise guy over there. You're probably one of the smartest New Yorkers I know. Right there, that puts you right there in an elite group.
Don't give me too much credit right now. Don't give me too much credit on that. But the
And
older me might have sent me back in time and said, choose an NFC team to root for just in case. But never really did that.
the Giants would have been a nice fallback. But hey, Dolphins fandom is a good one to go to. I can relate to it, man. I didn't really have a football fan in my household, so I stumbled upon the Dolphins, and here I am now. So it looks like we both made some good decisions. Looks like.
It'll pay off. One of these days, it'll pay off.
So you're talking about the '90s. What was like your favorite Dolphins memory? I guess, or a couple if you want to talk about them.
Within the 90s, it was definitely the fake spike. That was being a New Yorker, being
That's
in an
choice.
absolute huge Jet fans' home during that fake spike was phenomenal. It was a best friend of my dad. He's a guy who I still to this day, he could be an uncle of mine. And anytime it's referenced, I'll bring him up. Elliot Golden, I'll just laugh every time I think about it because he was die hard fan. And that was when my first huge moments of just bursting out of a huge victory and a moment, almost like years prior, the Thanksgiving game with Leon Lett. That was a really fun moment. But
Okay,
those are the two that really pushed
stick
my
out right
my young
there.
self into football fandom.
Yeah, especially in Jets territory like that. That if you had Jets friends too. Oh my God, it makes it just a little bit sweeter.
That was a really fun next day wearing the Dan Marino jersey, but in the cafeteria, not a lot of happy folks after that game. The
Oh,
Giant fans were laughing, but the Jet fans were not very happy.
oh, they're like, oh, look at Jason giving you a little high five and being able to dunk on the Jets fans together. There you go. Whoa.
It was fun. It was fun.
That see, that's what I've always said. Like, it's nice to be like in home territory, and be able to experience like Dolphins fandom over here, but being like behind enemy lines almost, and then getting those wins that must be just so much fun being able to rub it in, sticking out like that and just being like, hey, we got one on you.
I I'll tell you, it's as much fun as that is. The worst end of that is when the bad things happen, much like that Monday Night Miracle. I think it was 2001 when the Dolphins were in New York. They had the game wrapped up in the Jumbo Elliott touchdown. But yeah, they let me have it. They've gotten their revenge on me. It's been a very long
Yeah,
Real being a
I'm
Jet
not
fan.
thick-skinned enough for that. I think I don't know if I could take those lumps like that. The highs would be fun, but the lows would be.
The Wolves are bad, man.
Oh, I just thought about that honestly. I don't know if I've got the skin for that one, man. That's can't can't hit the little block in real life. So that's not fun.
That's a good point. When there's bad things that happen in Dolphin world, I always have a couple of more voicemails than usual. Just a lot of ribbing from the friends.
Hey, it comes with the sport, man. But like you said, man, we give and take. So as long as we're still got the more positive memories, that's always fun to lean on. But
And it's good to be like 12-2 over the last several years against them. So we're
oh yeah,
okay.
it's 10-2 versus the Jets in the last 6 years. They haven't won a division game in the 2020s, so it's fine. Like you've got a couple more ammo for your Jets friends there,
Exactly. Always got to have something in the hopper.
dude. But the 2022 Dolphins, man, how are we feeling? Because it's been a lot more positive lately than it has been downs. So
As far as I can remember, it's been probably one of the more successful and exciting off seasons with just checking off all the boxes of what they needed to retain, which was everybody. The only
the
person
whole
we didn't
defense.
really retain was Mac Hollins. And as much as we all love Mac Hollins, I think we could all live with that in the beginning of the offseason. You're going to keep everyone. You're going to bring in the best free agents pretty much on the market, and you're going to lose Mac. We could tolerate that. And they bring in a lot of good role players, too, to compensate for that loss and to help kind of roll out the roster. So I'm very excited. It's a massive excitement all across the fan base. And the coaching staff on offense mixed with the new components on offense, I think are going to really help what kind of halted the offense last year. There was no continuity in the play calling. There was really no continuity in the leadership. Obviously, Tua at points was throwing to, 2, 3, 4 level receivers and not, Tyreek Hill.
Isaiah
Jalen
Ford.
Waddle, that's your second option. So there's tons of options. The running game hopefully could be improved. The offensive line hopefully could be improved. And this defense has only gotten better.
Oh, it's only gotten better. Like you said, we retained everybody, especially on defense, and we've only added pieces to it.
Right.
So that's gonna be fun. I keep saying 12-5. Like you say, we seem to have only gotten better, not taking a step back, not. There's no. I don't feel like we're stagnant at any point. We've only improved, and we're trying to build that continuity. So I think I've got us at 12-5. I've been called a fool, a little positive fool, but I don't think that's too far off. It's only 3 more wins than last year, and we added dynamic players at every point. Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, crazy new coaching moves. I don't see why not. 12-5 in some playoffs.
I have no problem with 12. Truth be told, when I first saw the schedule, and I'm kind of sticking to this number at the exact moment, I had 11. I think 11 and 6 is something that we can target as that last wild card spot. Look, 12, 13 wins, is it attainable? Yeah, but that would really mean if you're breaking down the schedule quarterly or, 4 or 5 games at a clip, the first clip is brutal. When you think about the fact that you open up against the Patriots, they've done well against the Patriots recently, but it's the Patriots and it's a division game. And then you go on the road against a team like Baltimore, who traditionally, since Baltimore has been a franchise, not the Cleveland Browns, they've kind of owned Miami, And then you got Buffalo, and then you got Burrow, So you got 4 Bs. You got Belichick, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Burrow. And I see 2 W's in those first 4 games, kind of at best case scenario. And if they're getting 3 wins out of that, I'm going to spike that total to 12-13 very confidently. But they can't go 1-3 to start this season, going into a away game at the Jets where a loss there would pretty much be catastrophic in that scenario. So I'm really hoping a 3-2 or 4-1 start. It's a tall order, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think that's the key. After week 5 being 3-2, positive at entering week 6, coming back to home, that's massive for the team. That'll build some confidence. Like it'll build a lot to build upon for the team, just to get that sense that we're here, we're legit. Quiet the noise, quiet the doubt, and then just be able to keep chugging forward and just keep going on with the season. It's a tough schedule to start off, man. I'm hoping the Patriots, it's divisional game, so that it's anyone's game. If we can go 1-0, that's massive. Baltimore Buffalo is a tough back-to-back stretch right there, man. You got to go 1-1, and you can go 0-2 right there, and then you can start hearing a lot of negative noise. So I don't know, Jason. I'm a little nervous to start, but I think if we start off hot, we can take off and fly, man. And I think it's got a lot to do with the coaches, man. Ooh, I can't. Ba-doom. There we go. My bad.
You're good. You're good.
Dude.
I agree. The coaches are going to have a huge component in it. What's something to be noted is that, as much as we love Mike McDaniel, and we're going to talk about it now, it looks like, I'm going to be very curious to see how he runs things like the travel and the practices prior to road games and protocol, because now he's running the logistics, not just running the on-field stuff. And look, the last couple of years, it's obviously been kind of rumor this, rumor that, but that wasn't great the last couple of years. The communication, the kind of cadence throughout the building of what's going on and how many people are involved and who's involved. So it'll be very interesting to see, case in point, when they're out west in December. They're going to be in San Francisco and Los Angeles in back-to-back weeks. So do they come home? Do they stay out there? Do they figure out a way to kind of limit the travel? Because then they have an away game at Buffalo. They have 3 straight away games in December. So there's a lot of logistics to the schedule that I'm really curious to see how McDaniel handles. But he surrounded himself with such good veteran coaching talent, which I think was another lack from a previous regime. I think there's so many cooks in this kitchen that could be his assistants. Let him run it. But there's the expert offensive lineman. There's the expert tight end coach. There's veteran ex-Dolphins at positions like cornerback and receiver. Who's that going to help?
Experts.
Who could that help in like kind of a funny way? An expert wide receiver and an expert cornerback, couple of coaches. Tua. I mean, everyone is going to help Tua, and I think Tua is not going to have to do too much. And I just think that McDaniel is the key to that. And it was said on the Fish Tank show, I don't know if you heard it with McDaniel, that the relationship between a player and a coach is sacred. And that is the difference. I think that the support that he'll show his quarterback, his running backs, his third string offensive lineman, I think that his aura I think that's worth a win or two, like right off the bat.
100%.
So we'll see how that is. And we'll see. Another thing that I'm really curious about is the last 2 minutes of the game, last 2 minutes of the half, timeout maintenance, red flag usage. When is he challenging? What is he challenging? At what point of the game is he challenging? Do I want to see him in a first quarter challenge with 3rd and 5, incomplete or complete pass when it doesn't matter at that point, just to win a challenge? So a lot of things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Very positive about him, but we'll see how it translates on the field.
Dude, very positive about him. I love that. Those little nuances, like we'll see, like the challenges, the timeouts, how aggressive he is, like the types of plays he calls on 3rd down, 4th down, 3rd and long. Like he said, we'll see it on the field. But I already think that energy, that positivity, it merits a couple wins, man. Like that new shift for the players, that new culture change, it's massive in the locker room. And like you love to see that. It's part of the reason why I'm so excited for this 2022 Miami Dolphins team. I like that you mentioned the schedule. I heard, I don't know if it's like an actual confirmed thing, but I heard that the reason why, I heard that we were asking for the 49ers game, we were asking it to be paired with that Chargers game so we could potentially stay on the West Coast, which is cool because, he is coming from San Francisco, so he's definitely familiar with how to keep the team comfortable, maybe little things like, hey, we'll get some good food, we'll plan it out, we'll break down some film. I know a couple spots for us to relax, unwind, so good places where we can practice, stay good routine, whatever it is. Those 2 weeks, I'm not as worried about. We do have a couple other stretches, like when we travel to the NFC, like the NFC North, when we're playing that Detroit and Chicago, like that's a little weird. If we could do the same thing there, that'd be nice. Minimize our miles. I know we're like top 5 in travel miles or something, but all those little things on how he handles it, it's a little worrying for a first year coach, but the early returns, the early signs is it's all positive. And like you said, so many chefs in the kitchen, man, like all those little assistants who are veterans like Sam Madison, Pat Surtain, that'll be helping our corners. John Embry and Wes Welker making lateral moves from San Francisco to Miami to coach the same positions in wide receivers and tight ends. That's beautiful. Like you love to see all that talent amassing and backing them up. Like people have told me, like, oh, we had Philbin get hyped up, Adam Gase get hyped up, we had Brian Flores get hyped up. Do you think that this is like different than in the past, or?
It's a great question. I smile because like I feel like the last couple of years we've all said, but this one's different. But this one's different.
Like, I keep catching myself,
like he really is, because I feel like, and I said this, I think maybe on one of the spaces that one of the community people did, but like we've had the guru who maybe has had a little bit of a weird personality. We've had the personality who might be a little bit weird in the offensive nuances or defensive nuances. Like, no one's had it all in the last couple of coaches. No one's had the personality. No one's had the guru aspect in terms of the scheme, the offense, and the player coachability, the coach-player relationship that he, again, has said is so sacred. I think it's going to make players excited to be playing a game again. Yes, it's a job. Yes, they get paid millions of dollars. Their bodies are on the line. But you want to go on into a season hyped, happy, excited. This is still a bunch of 23 to 30 some odd year old young men playing a game. And I think McDaniel does a really great job of knowing that, but allowing everyone to kind of be themselves. And you see it in what the social media team's doing. You see it with the enjoyment that these players are having.
They're having fun again, that energy's
breaking
different.
out of their shell. And that's good to see.
We'd love to see that, and I think that's, like you said, that's the key difference, like that's where it starts being just words of hype and words of just praise to, oh, snap, this is actually translating on the field. It's already leaking onto the practice, and the players are buying in and having fun. Football's all about having fun, like we were talking about, man. So I'm excited. Like the players are excited. Everyone's excited in Miami. But like, what are you most excited about for the season?
Oh, that is such a loaded question, and I'm going to try to not give a loaded answer because there's a lot. I mean,
hey, go off, man. We're here to hear you talk.
A lot to be excited about. The things that I'm excited about that are the easy things are the ascension of the defense. Will this be the best or a top 3 elite unit? I think that the easy answer is they absolutely can be. Can this team, believe it or not, they were top 5, 6 in sacks as a unit last year. What if they are top 2 or 3 in sacks? That's going to help the secondary and vice versa. I think it's the best mix of secondary and pass rush since maybe the days of Madison, Surtain, Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor. When you think about both of those aspects,
that's high praise, man.
Sure, the linebackers could be a little bit, let's see how they play. That would be a little bit of a weakness in the defense, but I'm excited as a whole to see how good this defense can be. I'm excited to see what this offense can be. Look, last year wasn't pretty. A couple of ugly stats. I mean, 27th in the league in terms of, the percentage of times they're scoring. 30% on drives. 30% of drives are putting points on the board. That's bottom 5 in the league. It's not going to be acceptable when you have that good of a defense who's flipped on that. They're top 15, top 10 in most defensive stats. So you're going to have to put points on the board. You're going to have to be consistent in holding this ball for a time of possession situation, not giving it back and making a 10-point lead evaporate in 2 possessions, or at least come closer than it is. So the rushing attack, figuring out how to put teams away via the rushing attack. Let's get those 8-minute drives in the fourth quarter to get that last field goal. If it's going to put us up by 17, you just killed 8 minutes. I don't need the field goal to get us tied and give them the ball back. But they have a lot of things to work on, but there's a lot to be excited about.
It should be exciting, man. Like you said, the defense, that's high praise, man. Like I love to hear that, man. Jason Taylor. I mean, like we do have Sam Madison and Pat Surtain coaching them up there.
Jason Taylor, there's never going to be another Jason Taylor. So he's not walking through the door again.
He's on the wall for a reason.
40% of Jason Taylor is a Pro Bowler. And I think that Jalen Phillips, who's the closest comp who we could ever imagine, is starting off a good way to be the closest thing that could maybe even compare to JT. And I'm not knocking or high praising. Jason Taylor was one of the best in the business who's ever done it. So again, if you get a fraction of him, that's still a positive. And I think Phillips is going to be a very good player for us who is the second sack master with Emmanuel Ogba still coming back. So huge dynamic there, having two awesome bookends. A little bit like Jason Taylor had with Dwale Agunlie, Trace Armstrong at times. So fun dynamic here.
Yeah, I think that's the big key. You know, like we're all expecting a lot from Jason Phillips, but he doesn't have to be like the number one pass rusher. So it's not like offenses are going to be looking to neutralize him or like blank him out. And if they do, then Emmanuel Ogba is going to feast. So whatever, like Jason Phillips is going to show his impact, whether it's on the stat sheet or whether it's commanding more and more attention. It's fun. Yeah, even if he's 40% of Jason Taylor, that's an automatic Pro Bowl. Like that's double-digit sacks. That's like a bunch of pressure. And what more can you ask for? You know, like if he even gets to a little more Jason Taylor-esque, my man, that could be something crazy. The linebackers.
Listen to him. When you look and listen to Jalen, it just sounds like he's cut from the same cloth of player, person. He says the right things. He's probably going to be going down the path of maybe coaching. He's obviously just a first-year, second-year player, but you could just listen to how he talks about the game, and I think that he's just a student of the game. It took JT like second, third season to get those double-digit sacks, and all of a sudden Jalen Phillips was a sack and a half away from that. So I like the progression there, and I think the sky's the limit for Phillips.
He's looking phenomenal so far in camp. Like I've been seeing him toss around bags. He is an athletic monster, but he's looked somehow even stronger, and that's just crazy to me. Like it's like you said, he's a sack and a half away from double digit, and he was always so close, just a hair's grip away from finishing off a sack, and he can definitely lock it up this year, man. Double digit sacks is attainable.
Hey, listen, I think it's very attainable, and even better, it's when the sacks are going to come. I don't care if it's 7 or 8 sacks, but if they're all on third down, if they're all getting the offense back on the field for Miami, so with a guy like Melvin Ingram coming in, it also leaves an ability to rotate and have these guys fresh, so I would love to see perfect usage of these guys, 60-70% snap count. So even if the sack numbers are stagnant, don't spike up when they're happening, the efficiency of these guys on the field. So that's a big thing I want to look forward to.
Those key moments, that'd be nice to see him just activate that motor and just get after him, make those game-changing plays, which, like, I think we already see the secondary start to do. Guys like Xavier Howard and stuff. Like, if we can start seeing that same, like, playmaking ability from our D-line on third down, sky's the limit for the defense. I already think we have one of the most promising defenses in the NFL, easily top 8 or whatever. But if we can start getting production on both sides, even if the linebacker is not the best, that takeaways and that playmaking ability will put us up there with top 5. And that'll be nice to see for the defense.
I think top 5 is if they finish in number 5, number 6, I think that's the floor for them, frankly. I think that it's a very easy bet.
There we go.
If they're healthy, on paper, no reason to believe they're not a top 5 secondary.
Oh, the secondary for sure, man. Like,
no reason.
Like Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Nick Needham, Javon Holland, Brandon Jones. Like, I don't know. I'm only 24, so for me, this is like one of the most talented Dolphin secondaries I've ever seen. If not like the most talented, like everywhere. Even on slot, on the outside, on the slot, nickel, safeties, everyone just can make plays, get after, even stop the run. They can even get after the QB on little blitzes. Like, it's insane. Like, it's going to be fun for Madison and Surtain to coach them up, I think. Like,
the huge thing about this is, too, when Pat was a rookie, he played the slot. So he had an opportunity to dominate in the slot because he had Terrell Buckley, Sam Addison. So he's going to be able to be a tutor on the outside, be a tutor for those slot players, those nickel guys. So a guy like Nick Needham, guy like Javon Holland, they're going to learn so much from a cornerback. So there's going to be so much flexibility. And I don't want to say like injuries are a part of football. Things happen. Needham could be on the outside. He could play on the inside. Same thing with a couple of other depth players here. So we're not even talking about Eric Rowe yet, too. So Eric Rowe is a veteran who is a fantastic safety as well, who had played cornerback as well. So love these guys in terms of flexibility. There's a good mix of that youth and veteran grouping within that secondary. And the two safeties, Javon Holland and Brandon Jones, them maturing together, I think, look, there hasn't been a huge list of strong free safety tandems that have been consistent for Miami. There's been a couple, I mean, the perfect season, Jake Scott and Dick Anderson, historians would definitely get on my case if I didn't mention them, but
50 years ago.
Right, exactly. In 20 years, I can't remember a potential of drafted homegrown strong free safeties within a year of each other, second, third round picks, who from 5 to maybe 7 years could be the anchors of the secondary and the third and fourth best players potentially in it too. When you think about it,
That's what I'm saying. Like we praise Brandon Jones, we praise Javon Holland, and rightfully so because they're so talented, and they'd still be the third and fourth best players. Like
no knock.
No knock. Our defense is just that talented. Like I love Brandon Jones, and I'm glad someone else does as well. Like more and more he's picking up steam. Like this is actually a secret Tannehill jersey right there. But I one day it's gotta. I'm between flipping it for a Brandon Jones throwback jersey or a Sony Michel throwback jersey. So I went to high school. I went to American Heritage, so for me, Sony Michel would be cool. Go. But Brandon Jones is just that good. And when I saw him at the Ravens game, like he was explosive. Him and Javon Holland just absolutely getting after Lamar. And I talk about it all the time, but like it really stuck with me, man. Like they were just absolute monsters. Like they disrupted the game, making plays in the secondary, making plays right up in front of his face. And like if they can do that for the next 7-8 years, like you said, they'll be anchors of the defense. Like that'll be monsters.
Tell you, Brandon Jones, when he was a rookie, the play that I was all in on Jones. He didn't even record a stat, or you wouldn't even see it on a box score. Remember when Shaq Lawson returned a touchdown against the Cardinals? He had about it was to his rookie year.
2020,
he had about a 30-yard head start, and then he kind of ran out of gas. He wasn't going to get tackled, but he might have. All of a sudden, Brandon Jones just does like a 50-yard sprint and ended up being a just-in-case blocker for Lawson. And just to me, that said, rookie was not in the frame.
The effort, man.
There was going to be a block needed, and he probably ran a 4-1 in those 45, 50 yards. Not even kidding. Go back to the tape. This kid's a baller, and he led defensive backs in sacks last year.
There we go. I did not know the sacks thing. I knew he was one of the most efficient tacklers since coming in 2020.
All defensive backs led in sacks, Brandon Jones.
That's amazing. I actually do own him in a little dynasty fantasy football league. I couldn't get Javon, so I had to get Brandon Jones. But
there you go.
He's a fun one, man. And like that sack stack, that's a nice one to have in my pocket now.
Absolutely.
But dang. I love to see that effort. I first started hearing about Brandon Jones because I have a buddy who really likes Texas, and he was looking at like Caden Stearns a couple of years back. And so when we got Brandon Jones, he was like, he's got a nice one. He's not Caden Stearns or whatever, but he's a pretty good player. And so I just had him on the radar. And then for me, the Ravens game lighted it up. But I'm loving that you saw him even show flashes like that in his rookie year. That makes it even better, Jason. Oh man, he's probably the front runner for the jersey now, man. I can wait when Sony has a 1,000-yard season, then we can talk about a jersey. But
Sony can get us some touchdowns. I mean, he's a red zone guy, so hopefully he's that guy to make third and short a little bit less worrisome than it's been in years past. That's been the bane, man. Nando is just scoring when it should be easy. Just
in the red zone, man.
Right, just giving that running back. I don't care if it's 3rd and 3 or 1st and inches. Just give the ball to a strong running back and get the 6, and that's been not so prevalent with Miami in the last 5, 6, 7 years, save maybe Jay Ajayi. And that I can't even really.
That was so brief. It looked for a bit like we were going to go with the power running back route for a bit, and then we traded him away, and then we said back to the speed. And speed's always fun, but the fact that we've got so many little weapons, like everybody brings something different today. But if you want the speed, you got Raheem Mostert. If you want the nice inside running, you got Sony in there. Maybe even throw a little Alec Ingold if you want to sprinkle it in, And then, hey man, you got Chase Edmond for the third down for the passing routes. It should be fun, man. Like what? It's a new Miami. Hopefully we score more touchdowns in the red zone. But what do you think about the running back group as a whole? I guess.
I mean, as a fan of a team, I like it a lot. I think that individually you hit the nail on the head. Mostert is kind of your deep threat. Sony is going to get your inside looks and maybe those hard grind out yards, short yardage end zone looks. red zone looks. And then, Chase Edmonds, I think, could be your most consistent guy who might lead the team as a running back in overall touches. Great out of the backfield and receptions, too. You mentioned a guy like Ingold. It's always nice to have a fullback who could do a little bit more than block, and he could block effectively, and, we're not even naming, Myles Gaskin, who let's see what happens, if he gets
You think
through
there's
camp.
hope?
For him to be a fourth or a fifth running back, yeah. But do they see if there's maybe value if they move him to maybe be a third or second running back somewhere? So that's something to keep an eye on. But my fantasy friends, and we spoke about fantasy, I'm not saying stay away from the Dolphin backfield, but know where you're getting your points in your league from. So if you're in a league that is going to give you a full point per reception, target Chase Edmonds. If you're a guy or a girl that's in a league that's just favoring straight standard yards, maybe if you want to hold on hope that he plays 15 to 17 games, Mostert could be your guy. If you're in a touchdown-only league, draft Sony Michel with your last pick. But
there you go.
A lot of options, but I think it is going to be a little bit of a, 4 or 5 person committee situationally. So no one's carrying the ball 25 times a game.
Yeah, so and definitely for fantasy, that makes it a little harder to trust, especially week to week. Maybe some bye week fills that could be nice, right. But like you said, it depends on your week. That'd be tough to just own one and start one weekly. But hey, if you got a bye week pinch and if you're in a touchdown only league, boom, Sony's the route to go. That's a nice one to think about. Chase Edmonds, though, I agree. He'll probably be the most consistent and get the most touches overall. So if you have to, for some reason, start a Dolphins running back weekly, like that's probably your best bet, like Chase Edmonds. But as for a real life committee, it should be fun. Like I think it's more talented than like the San Francisco like running back core of last year. So maybe Mac McDaniel could have a little bit more toys to play with. It could be, we were 30th last year in rushing yards. Like we were not good. So even if we jump up to 15th, like an upper half team rushing, that'd be fun. I get a little carried away sometimes. I say top 10 in rushing yards, top 5 even one time. I said that's a very tall order for the Dolphins. It would be a let's see some.
You're right. No, you're right. You were dead on 30th in the league, and they need to improve that. If they improve that by a half and they're 15th in the league, I'll take that. And if the passing game could escalate too, that works. But I like the running game. I'm obviously the offensive line is going to be a huge component to it, and we don't know what 5 and exactly where this offensive line, how it's going to kind of formulate. So there's a little bit of a worry with how to kind of appraise the running backs and their potential just yet, but potentially from each running back as an individual, they all entered the league with the potential of being a great bell cow back potentially. Even Michel from his days at Georgia came into the league as a guy who could be a top end back. So full of talent in that room.
Oh, full talented indeed, man. So it should be fun to see what they come up with, what they start dialing up and how it starts looking. I'm excited for the passing game, though, man. Like, we've got so many little wide receivers. I think it's one of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, I think is probably the most electric wide receiver duo in the NFL. Like, that's so fast, so dynamic. But the core in general, man, you got Hill, Waddle, Ezukanma, Wilson. Like, it starts going off, man, and it's gonna be a fun one, man. Even if you want to throw in Gesicki as a receiver or whatever, it's fun, man. Like, where do we even begin? Like, I don't even know where do you even want to start with this deep core, man? Like,
well, the newest guy. Having Tyreek Hill come on in, become the number one. It's really they're a top 3, I would say, duo very safely. Very safely. You got to put Jamar Chase, T. Higgins up there. You got to – I think that they're right up there. But I do love the other components to this duo, like Gesicki, as you mentioned, like a Cedric Wilson Jr., I think is a huge addition to this team. Huge
massive.
And, I think all these guys could play the X, Y, Z. They can play the side. They can play all over the alphabet for this room and for Mike McDaniel and their passing game. And Gesicki, I think he has the best coach that he'll ever have at the position. John Embry has had, yes, he's inherited Tony Gonzalez at one point in his career. He's inherited George Kittle at one point in his career, sure. But he's also milked the best season out of Jordan Cameron, who got him to a Pro Bowl while he was in Cleveland.
That was he was the Cleveland coach for that?
Yes, he was. Jordan Cameron had one good year, and it was with John Embry in Cleveland. And if you look at that stat line, a lot of eights. This is the stat line that I want to see for Gesicki. 80, about 850 and 8. And I think that he has that ability because of his coachability with the right coach. This is going to be a perfect match. And I think that if he can get on the board early in touchdowns, like, get him 2 touchdowns in a game in the first 3 or 4 weeks, get him going. He's a momentum type player. And he, with all the attention that has to be spent to Hill and Waddle and Cedric Wilson Jr. and the running game, he might be the guy that just happens to be, by default, left in the middle of the field alone or even one-on-one. He's 6'6". Throw the ball up to him in the red zone. That's not happened with him in his career. Very limited usage in the red zone with him through past coaching staffs. Something to look to.
See, I love that, man. 6'6", just tap in there, that coachability, and just have him just start lobbing it up, or why not let it fly? Like, trust that ability to have him bring it down. And I love that. I didn't know he coached that Jordan Cameron. I remember when he exploded randomly in fantasy football for 1 year and then just disappeared. John Embry. We love to see that. And for me, my favorite little Gesicki stat was, you mentioned, hey, there's going to be so much attention on Tyreek Hill. Before Tyreek Hill came onto the Chiefs, Travis Kelce was averaging 800-ish yards a season. Then you added Tyreek Hill, he bumped up to 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards. That's obviously a lot to do with Travis Kelce's development as well. But he'll open up a lot for him, and we could start to see that from Gesicki. Hey, if he could somehow get close to 1,000 yards and still get like 8 TDs, that would be so nice to see. Just like an absolute new weapon unfold for Tua. But even if he's in the red zone weapon, I love to see that. Like, I want to see just Gesicki more involved in general. I don't need him to be this crazy blocker. I need him to be a weapon, a threat.
That's exactly the word used. He was franchise tagged not because he was a tight end, not because he's a blocker. He's a weapon. He's a guy who can move the chains. He's a guy who can produce heavy yardage through the air, because of his height, because of his athleticism. The way he can adjust his body in the air is very much like a wide receiver because of his background in volleyball and basketball. His body manipulation is unbelievable for a tight end. So I do think that we're going to see, and one of my calls, if I can make one,
of course,
ask me, give me a call that you think is going to happen. Gesicki's going to sign a long-term deal in Miami because I just think it's too much of a perfect scenario, and he could. I can't put a price tag on what I'm about to say. He could be the franchise's greatest, most prolific tight end statistically in their history. And before anyone starts to throw a torch in the air, the Miami tight end history has been good, but it's not been full of Tony Gonzalez's and Antonio Gates's. But my point is, in 4 years, Gesicki could have every passing record in Miami tight end history. 3 years.
Oh, he's got the talent for sure. Like the size, 250. He runs like a 4.5. Like or like a 4.7 maybe. I don't know. He's ridiculously fast, man. Like you don't see athletes like that coming off. And I would love to sign for a long-term deal for that reason. Like we said, he's a weapon. You don't see players like that. They don't grow on trees. They don't come to the league every day. And that's why we retained him. It's because there's that thought, if we can coach him up, if we can mold him a little bit better, the sky's the limit, and I'd love to see Gesicki keep developing, man. But Hill and Waddle, like the development for Waddle year 2, and I get why people have been saying like, oh, T. Higgins is so nice. But T. Higgins got to see cornerback 2s in his second year because Jamar Chase came in and took all that cornerback 1 attention. Now Jalen Waddle in his second year, he gets to do the same thing, man. He went from going from cornerback 1s, learning the NFL, to now getting it even easier because everyone's going to be focused on Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle's no slouch. He's a monster. It's like, how do you defend that? Like, that's insanity, you know?
I have no idea how they defend it. I do not envy defensive coordinators trying to prepare for these. You know, you can't eliminate or just let anybody just be free, because
Not
I
at
think
all.
that Daniel has the smarts to, whether it's the second quarter, if it's the halftime adjustments, he'll find whatever the defense is trying to do to take that player away, and then just go to someone else. There's too much talent to not succeed offensively when you really look at it. And I'm just excited to see who leads the team in catches, yards, touchdowns. It could be different people. It could all be different people. So that's a good thing, I think.
Oh, I think it's a wonderful thing, man. Like, especially when you look at like even wide receiver 3, like we don't even talk about Cedric Wilson. Like, there's gonna be some weeks where it's the Cedric Wilson week, you know, and people are gonna be like, what the heck? How did that happen? It's because Wilson is talented, you know, like Waddle and Hill are otherworldly, I think, honestly. But Wilson is a fine player, and having my wide receiver 3, we have such an explosive core that I don't know how you stop them. Like you said, I don't envy defensive coordinators. I'm glad that's not me week to week, man. Like, that's not a fun job.
No, I mean Wilson's key, because he was so good in the slot last year. He was a top 11 receiver in the slot last year in scoring and quarterback rating while targeting him while he was running out of the slot. So putting that into consideration with guys like Waddle and Hill, who could be in motion, who could play all over the place, who could run the ball, have these quick little, Deebo Samuel type plays. No one's Deebo Samuel, I get it, but
Tyreek's pretty close. Like,
yes, get the ball in the hands of the playmakers, and for the love of God, don't put the ball in the hands of the playmakers behind your own line of scrimmage or the end zone. Forward.
no more screens.
Forward. That's the problem. If you're going to gain 2 yards, don't throw the ball 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Forward. And I think this offensive coordinator, this offensive line coach, Mike McDaniel, look at all the smarts there. There's going to be enough smarts in the play calling to move the chains a bit more effectively, I think.
That's what we love to see, man. Just moving the chains. That's another Miami Dolphins. A first down is all I want to be hearing next season, man.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Oh, I mean, dang. I don't know who I want to see. Like, I understand there's a little bit of concern of Tyreek Hill. Like, people are saying, like, oh, he was bad mouthing, like the Chiefs saying, like, oh, like the usage concerns and stuff. We're gonna feature him week to week. Like he's still gonna get his 150 targets. It's just gonna be more targets that he appreciates, more just spotlighting him in the offense. We're not gonna be deep route McGee every single play. He's gonna be coming in closer. He's gonna be working more line of scrimmage. No more screens. I'm done with that. No more end zone plays. But forward for Tyreek should be looking nice, I think.
It's going to be a really fun look. 3rd and short, I'm probably still going to be a little nervous like I've been the last 20 years. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. I've always worried, but now there's way too many options that the Dolphins could have to not just pick up the first down, but just get those chunk plays on those plays that no one's expecting. And I want to see creativity. I want to see the yards that they could pick up easily. Don't make it too hard on themselves. Just get your yardage, move the sticks, and the big plays will come. They have the talent for the big plays. They just got to get more than, they only average, I think, like 1.6 yards per drive, which is, again, bottom barrel of the league. So they really need to extend these drives, and they need to get into the red zone, and they need to score. Touchdowns, not field goals. Touchdowns.
Touchdowns, not field goals. And I think we can do it. Wide receivers, tight ends, coaching, running backs. It's all looking beautiful. I know I've kept you on for a while, but
I don't know. This is blast.
Hey, man, I'm a Tua guy, so I think he's part of the success. He's part of the formula for helping the team load up and carry on. I'm not sure your quarterback stance, but what do you think? You think the offense comes together under Tua?
I have the utmost faith that he can, that he has the ability, that everything's been put in and around him for him to do so. Here's the thing. Tua is a very polarizing player, unlike we've seen, I think, ever at quarterback from Miami, because everyone knew how good Marino was. I mean, who was going to say anything negative about Marino because he was that good? Then, obviously, after Marino, he had a lot of 20, 25 other quarterbacks go through. But even with Tannehill, there was your camps of, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? But I think with Tua, it's he's amazing, or if he's terrible. There's so extremes with Tua that I've never seen before. My thing with Tua is I want him to succeed. Do I think he's going to succeed? I ultimately think that he is, and I'm rooting for him to succeed. This is the year that we're going to find out if he's going to succeed with the Miami Dolphins. Because if there's success and progression here, there's obviously every reason in the world to extend that contract, pick up the option in 2 years, get to that and give him that contract. Hopefully maybe he brought us to a Super Bowl before that extension. Maybe. So, yes, I want him to succeed. I realize that there are other skilled quarterbacks in the league, but I also realize that with his skill sets, quick reads, accuracy, throwing the ball deep when he needs to accurately with these weapons, I think he needs to be a top 12 quarterback in this league. He could be. If he's the 13th, 14th, still okay in my mind.
Still okay as long as we're winning games, as long as there's some positive signs, like you said, there's the growth, the progression is there. That's all I need to see. I'm excited for him. Year 3, we've got a lot of things to be pumped up about. Brandon Jones, we talked about him, but Mr. Tua is gonna be fun year 3, man. I'm excited for it, and if he takes us to a Super Bowl before the extension, I won't be mad about it. I won't be mad. I'll be excited.
There's nothing like building a team with a quarterback and a rookie contract, awarding him with an extension because of his success. And that's what the build is. That's the goal. Will it happen? We're praying for it. But credit to Chris Greer because he laid the table. The table is set for the plan. It was a bumpy road the last 2 years getting here, but to win or to be a competitive team with a rookie quarterback contract, it's attainable.
It all fit together coming at the end, man. And Mr. Greer, it was bumpy, but it looks like we're getting to the destination safe and sound, hopefully.
Forget about the air. It's how you take off and land. If you're smooth and you're in, you're fine.
Hey, that's all that matters. That's the landing's the hardest part, so I'm glad we seem to be sticking to it, man. But I could cheer your ear off forever, Jason. So this has been pretty fun, though, man. So thank you for some positive Fins talk, man. Is there anything you wanna talk on or touch upon before we, like, any final positive thoughts or any final Fins talk?
Just keep doing what you're doing, Ando. I love it. I told you earlier in the show, when we were talking prior to going online, I love when this is the time to talk Fins. So people out there, if you want to do a podcast, start a podcast, do a podcast, talk, get the positive energy out there, because that's what we want. When this team wins and when this team goes to hopefully other playoff games, we want to celebrate together as a positive community, because that's what I think is being built. Everything really, the stage is set for just a great time in this Dolphin community and this Dolphin fan base. So with W's, hopefully it can come a lot of fun with it. So keep doing what you're doing, my friend, and I really appreciate you having me on.
Dude, I appreciate you being on, man. It was a blast. Thank you. Like you said, man, Fins fan, just talk football, man, whether it's with your friends, whether it's at home, whether it's on Twitter, whether you make your podcast, whether you just record and then close your laptop, whatever you want to do, man. Like it's a fun time. This is the time to be talking Dolphins football. If it's not now, if it's not after this, like, then when?
This is the time. It's got to do
it. Time, man. Just where can people find you at? If you want to plug anything up, any of your information, any of your show, your writing, whatever it may be.
Appreciate that. I'm honored to be doing some contributing over at DolphinsWire.com. That's where you'll find my writing. And anytime I get a chance to talk football, absolutely love to. We can do this for hours, Nando. But people got to get to their weekends. I know you, I'm sure, have a fun weekend too. But this is a blast.
This is a blast, man. And I'm sure we'll have a conversation again, man. And I'd love to have you on the show again. And regardless, we'll be keeping in touch, man, and talking some football. Anytime, man. Well, thank you for being on the show, guys. This was Nando Talk. Some fun football vibes, and hope you guys enjoyed.